So I do a lot of portfolio reviews live on my channels, and I've also hired multiple designers who are sitting in your shoes. And so what I want to do today is walk through some of my favorite tactics inside of portfolio case study. This is really what's going to get you the job interview or not, and will ultimately put you at the top of the list or not, the way that you're presenting your information inside of your portfolio case study. So in this, we're going to dive into some of the top portfolios that I've reviewed so far on my lives. We're also going to reference some inspiration sites that came from portfolio sites. Then we'll go into some people that I've actually hired or attempted to hire and why I like their case study so much. So let's dig into it. So first off, you can get to this link by going to bit.ly/rad-portfolio reviews. Inside of there, there's a top 5 leaderboard, and Vanch is at the top, and I'm going to explain why I like it so much. So we're going to dive into this. In general, this is kind of my rubric for the perfect case study. We've got, at the top, we've got a visualization of the UI. Ultimately, you want to show like the end result up front if you can. Because what that's going to do is make me excited to go read about the process that came from that. If you're hiding your UI for the end, I'm going to walk in as a hiring manager thinking, maybe they didn't actually do much design, right? And something that I've also noticed that people do is sometimes they try to hide behind like, hey, my idea or the design work that I was doing isn't that interesting, so how can I make it look really cool? Well, the best way to do that is through adding motion. This whole thing was basically working with an AI prompt generator, which is at the end of the day, a form, right? But they still were able to make it compelling and exciting and enticing to watch simply by just having an animation at the end showing like the confirmation state and showing, a few buttons getting pressed. Like that's it. But through this motion, it really set the standard of what's going to be coming, what we're going to be diving into, and why and how this UI ended up coming to life. Now, the next step that I think is the most important thing, this is like the foundation of your work as a designer, and that is explaining what the problem is. And actually, Vanch didn't do too great of a job at that until it came down to here, right? And so I think that the perfect score for a case study would be motion with UI showing up at the top and then diving into the exact problem, right? So this one, he kind of walked through all of like the context of the issue. But really what I would love to see is Hopper AI had trouble getting people to create new podcasts. And so we wanted to make AI creation process to make it fun and easy for them. And they actually put in here, like, this is so awesome. Like, honestly, this whole section should be right here where it's, hey, this is the problem. This is how it affects the business, right? I, as a designer, am able to understand that my designs have an impact on the business. And this is the thing that we were trying to optimize. And that's really it as a designer is we're coming in, like every time that we're designing, it is a reason for it. Whether we're trying to optimize a landing page to be able to create more conversions, whether we're trying to optimize the way that you get to the settings screen because not enough people are going and signing up, right? Or even starting from scratch, it's we need to get this thing out as soon as possible. Like all of the times that we jump in as designers, we're coming in either optimizing or creating from scratch for a reason, right? There is a initial problem that was the inciting incident of our work. And that is what should be shown right here, right beneath the visualization of the designs. All of that should be above the fold to give me a super clear idea of why you started designing. I've seen a lot of people come in and give me a breakdown of the people they worked with, the timeline that they spent working on this project, the tools that they use. I don't give a shit about that as a hiring manager. All I care about is what the designs look like and what started the problem for you to get there. Because that's the beginning and that's the end. And then everything down here is the middle, right? It's how did you take that problem and confirm it, find solutions to that problem, and then create an answer to that problem, right? But that answer and the problem is the beginning and the end. That should be shown above the fold on a case study in your portfolio. Next step should be confirming the problem. So this is the beginning stages of your process as a designer. You are coming in, getting context from the product that you're working on, right? So this one was giving some context of what Hubhopper is. I think that this is probably best served down here. And probably too much detail was spent explaining to me as the hiring manager what Hubhopper is. I don't care about Hubhopper. I care about what you did to get this to life, right? And so for me, what I'd love to see in a section like this is a little bit of context of the problem, but more specifically, things that made you be able to confirm that the problem was the problem, right? Whereas, so through that, it's competitive analysis or doing user interviews or doing stakeholder interviews. Whatever it is, there was a problem there was somewhere somebody flagged the problem that you started with. And then you needed to go confirm with other people and other data to be able to say that this was actually the problem that's worth solving. And you could map all that out through doing, these interviews, doing, looking through support tickets. All of that stuff is really great. And being able to visualize it in something like this where it sums it up, give me a simple paragraph to explain the visualization and move on. I think that's really the ideal case for somebody who's jumping in. Now over here, this is Andre's portfolio, and in there they kind of walk through some of the scope, but again, I'm seeing UI up front, and even more, this is actually laid out in a way that shows me that they understand visual design, right? They understand the impact of graphic design a bit and composition, and being able to present information to a stakeholder like me who is potentially going to hire you, right? And so with that in mind, being able to come up with compositions like this is actually valuable to spend the time on in a case study. Here he goes into the background and all that. Again, I don't think that this is super needed beyond this background thing. Because right here he goes into the problem, right? And that's valuable. So I think that this should have covered the whole section. Maybe something like this, where how big this is, should have been given that weight to the background. The rest of the stuff can go. We'll figure that out later, right? But then right here, this is awesome because he gives me even more of the end visual, right? Because I'm going to probably do that as a hiring manager. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom to look at the final looks that you came up with, and then I'm going to go back and learn your process. But I don't even have to do that here because we're jumping right into more looks on the final UI, and then we get into how I began. I began looking to solve a problem with making basketball training more accessible. Boom. Did field research, visualize that research, visualize other ways that of competitors, that how other sneaker apps are doing this. This is how they're doing it. And again, it's visualized in a way that makes it where I can quickly read their insights. I stopped playing basketball since I had kids, but I hate losing these sneaker drops every time, right? Those kinds of things are really great to pull out. And even if you interviewed one person, you can just put all of their insights like this, and it will look like, wow, okay, they came up with some great insights that are directly tied to the problem, right? That's the thing. This problem is the foundation. It's like the pyramid. It's the foundation of a pyramid. The problem is that everything that you do from there is built on that problem, and it's built to serve that problem. So that's why the problem up front is so important, and that's why confirming the problem should be the next step, which was what happened here. And then having an insight that led to the solutions. That's the next step, right? I started diving into what the problem was and confirming that this is the problem. And in doing that, we realized, hey, a lot of people were losing out on these sneaker drops all the time, and it's really hard to track this. So here's an app idea that we're going to go design. And that's again, built and connected exactly to the problem that you're solving as the designer. The real problem. And then cool, so he even expands on it even more. I think that was probably already covered, but definitely more intentional, again, showing more composition, visual design skills. It's valuable and worth putting on there. How my Wii's, you can do this, but it's probably not super needed. But what this is doing is kind of showing that there was collaboration involved on the decision, on the problem decisions of this is the problem that we're going to go after. And then from there, you need to confirm that you cover all your bases through the problem, right? You say you have a problem. Okay, cool. Now we're going to take that problem and we're going to go expound on it and make sure we know exactly where our solution is going to fit into this problem. And that was shown right here. through competitive analysis, they came to pain points as well. They compared that to what the journey map would be of a normal person who's tracking sneaker drops, and then there came to an insight. Boom. I think this is great. And then going into user interviews to even confirm this, you probably could skip this stage if you've already visualized the pain points, you visualize the insights, all of that. You don't need to get into that again. But it's not going to hurt to be able to have those. I could skip it if I wanted to, or not, right? Now the next thing from there is to show your design process, and it begins with stuff like this, where you are pulling together some workshops, coming up with insights. And Vance actually did a great job of this section too, where he kind of showed some sketch, showed some flow charting, and then showed actually like this really cool like motion. Again, motion everywhere is awesome. And so Vance did what Andre did in like 4 sections. He did that in 1, and I feel like this is very compelling and very understood on what exactly happened before we got to the actual juice, which is the designs at the end. And again, when we are showing our designs, they also need to be connected back to that problem. So Vance did a great job of that. Hey, this is how we're going to address the business solutions. This is how we're going to address the initial points. And like we iterated on those throughout the whole deal. And yeah, it's just stuff like this where you can see the old versus the new. All of this shows your design process. And again, being able to call certain sections out that are specifically tied back to that problem, that is so valuable because it shows that you have an intention about you when you're going into designing. Like when you don't have a problem really scoped out from the beginning, all of the rest of the design that you're doing is served purely on gut instinct. But that's what we as designers are supposed to and trained to avoid. We were supposed to be pragmatic and all that. And the way that we really are pragmatic is that we are very focused on solving a problem. We're not focused on coming up with solutions. We're focused on solving a problem. That's the big thing. And so whenever you're presenting your work at the end, you need to tie it back to that problem and say, here's what we've learned so much throughout that. Like, these are things that I learned and picked up during this project that I'll be certain to start using on my other projects. That's like the perfect way to end it at the end. So let me just recap really quick. In my opinion, the perfect case study is UI shot of like the end along with the problem statement. Then give me some context of the business issues and confirm that problem with me through visualizations. Don't just show me don't just show me cards that you asked or questions that you asked. I don't care about that. Show me visualizations. Even this is probably a little scoped down, but the fact that there was at least a graph to show some of the answers, that's a good thing, and it's visualized in a good way. So make it where I don't even need to read this stuff and I understand what happened in that visualization. That's the key to do when you're confirming the problem. So visualization of the UI. The problem that happened, confirming the problem and the process that you took to tie it to a business solution, what you did to start off your design process and how it connected to that design solution or that problem, then what you did to iterate on that problem or on the UI that you finished to address that problem. And then down here, it should be readdressing the problem and how those designs happened and connected to that. Show those designs in full view. Don't show me a zoom out of all of it. Show me like this, like shot by shot, where I'm able to see the original design versus the new one, or just like the new design with all these call outs, right? And then at the end, wrap it up with a conclusion and how you found, like what you think you could have done better and what you've picked up along the way. That is the perfect way to do a design case study. And again, we got the same thing here with Peter. The goal, what he did to confirm that goal, insights and empathization, what they did to scope out a solution to that problem, what those could look like at the end results, and then the end designs. And actually there was another project in here that had more details, broke down user interviews and everything. This is such good juice and allows me as the hiring manager to come in and say, I know exactly how this person works, right? And they do it in a good way. Another great site to go to is godly.website. Head to the portfolio section, and in here there's going to be a lot of portfolios to look at. Some of these are like ridiculously good that you don't need to like go after it, but let's just walk through like one of their case studies, see how they did it. So something like this is probably better served for client work. Clients don't need to know your process as much. They're going to be looking at the flash for the end game. And so when you're doing client work, you could probably do this where you just show the end shots, but definitely break it up as much as you can. There's another site, Cuberto. They are a really good agency, and they have they have like kind of a process in their case studies where they have like really great motion and end results shown, and then they talk about the problem right away. They talk about, you know, shot by shot over like overall these are like the best shots of the project that we worked on, and then from there they have projects. So this one is product develop and objectives. So this was the project within a project is the planning stage, and so they went in, they redesigned some of the looks and the branding. Next step, you could see it's a repetition right here where they're giving you more details in different projects with different layouts. But again, it comes back to this module where there's end shots and then explanation of that shot. I think that this is probably the best way to do client case studies is show the end result with a little bit of context, and that's all you need. You don't really need to go in the weeds. But if you're trying to get a product team job, you're going to need to give a lot more details than what this has, and a lot less relying on the end designs. Definitely have those end designs up top, but then show me the process to get to these designs, and then again show me the designs this much in depth, and you've got a winner. So I hope you got something out of this, and I hope that you know a little bit better on how to build a case study for your portfolio, and then how to compare that between a client-focused one versus a product team-focused one. Good luck. You've got this. Keep hanging in there, and let me know if you want me to review your portfolio. You can always drop that in the community for a request for a design critique, and I will definitely take a look at your portfolio.